Hi guys and welcome to the NASCAR Ramble. So today we're going to be looking at the Martinsville race, looking at some news within NASCAR in over the last week or so, as well as previewing the Texas race. So the Martinsville race, what a finish it was. The last 40 laps or so, I was on the edge of my seat. You know, there was 5 drivers that could have had a chance to win there at the end. You had Logano, you had Keselowski, you had Martin Truex, you had Kyle Busch and you had Denny Hamlin, and they were all there in those last 40 laps. Obviously Logano, he was really, really strong on restarts all day long. So he led over 300 laps. And to be honest, as I say, on restarts, he was getting a second and a half clear really, really quickly. But I really thought Brad was going to have him on that last stint. Brad looked really, really good as the day went on. Got right up alongside Logano several times in that last stint. I think, being honest, that the Penske teammate thing did come into play a little bit. I know Keselowski might not say it did, but you know, there were times where I felt, he could have roughed him out there, could have edged him out and got clear, but I think he raced him with respect, knowing that he's a teammate and knowing that he's the only driver from Penske still in the playoffs. So I think there was a little bit of respect there, and it actually came to bite Keselowski. Obviously, eventually he kind of pushed too hard, the tyres started to go off, and he fell back to 5th. And then obviously Truex came on strong, and obviously there's been a lot of debate this week about, was it right, Logano's move, should Truex have been a bit more nasty himself, you know. And to be honest, I do think it was a bit naive from Truex. You know, he raced Logano super clean over that stint, no doubt about that. He had several opportunities to edge him out. I mean, Logano was doing a good job of keeping him as low as possible, sort of squeezing him, preventing him from getting a good exit. But I still think Truex, you know, he could have drove it deep into the corner, pushed Logano out wide. He chose not to do that. He chose to be clean, and eventually on the last lap got clear out of turn 2, and I sort of went, oh no, because everyone knew what was coming. As soon as he got clear, Logano into turn 3, little bump to the rear alongside, and got the win. But as I say, some people were saying that it was a poor move from Logano, that it was dirty, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think if you compare that to last year and Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, Hamlin was on Chase's rear bumper before they even got to corner entry, you know, and that's why Elliott spun out, wrecked, and wasn't even able to salvage a good finish. Whereas if you look at Logano and Truex, Logano didn't put his bumper to Truex until they were, you know, halfway around the corner, and I think that made a big difference. You know, it pushed Truex up wide, but Truex was still able to finish third and still could have won the race. I mean, he tried to turn Logano towards the wall at the finish, unsuccessfully. Probably maybe a good thing that it was unsuccessful, because I would not like to have seen the drama that would have ensued after that. But Hamlin obviously nearly won it as well on the line. You know, give it another 20, 30 feet, Hamlin probably would have won that race. And for the 11 team, that would have been huge. They've not won a race at all this season. You know, first winless season of Denny Hamlin's career is looking likely, along with Jimmy Johnson. But no, Logano did what he had to do. He's in Miami, and that really has opened it up in terms of the playoffs. You look at the point standings now, and you've got the big three of Harvick, Truex, and Busch locked into those final 3 spots at the moment, and then a big 25-point gap to the rest of the field. You know, Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, and Clint Bowyer. They are all a long way back, and I think this is key as well when we go to Texas. Texas, I predict, will be a real big 3 track. You look at it in the spring, you know, Truex retired early, but Harvick and Busch were really the 2 guys dominating that race. You know, Kyle Busch won it, Harvick was second, and really the rest of the field wasn't in the same postcode as them. And you have to fear that, based on what we've seen this season, you would expect that again at Texas. I know the big 3 haven't been as strong in the second half of the season, but even so, I think they're going to be in the top 5, and unless one of those 4 wins that race, that points gap I think is going to be even bigger going into Phoenix. And I have to say, I mean, my predictions for the championship 4 before we came into this round were Harvick, Busch, Logano, and Elliott. And I would stick with that still, despite what we saw at Martinsville. You know, Logano has locked himself in now. I expected him to get a win over these 3 races. He's always been really, really strong in this playoff format. Seems to know when to get the results at the right time, him and that team. And I still think Truex might miss out. I'm not as confident on that as I was coming into the round. I think through the first 6 races of the playoffs, Truex hadn't really impressed me. I felt that him and the team had taken a step backwards from where they were early in the season. And to be honest, I felt they needed to step up their game. And if you look at the second round, they only advanced by just a few points to get into the round of 8, and it was a real battle to get there. In that cut-off race at Kansas, Truex was really complaining about the handling of his race car, about the track bar not making a difference, and I'd be surprised if he makes it, but it did look like a Martinsville they were back to their best. They did have the best car on the long run on Sunday, and if they keep that form up into Texas, we know that the 78 team can be strong there. Maybe they get the win there and that secures their spot. But even if they don't, a strong finish puts them then in a position where they can go to Phoenix and just sort of run okay. And as long as a guy not in that bottom 4 of the playoffs wins, then he would advance to Homestead. But obviously that's a risky game to play. But I'm probably more confident in him than I was. However, Elliott, I don't think he'll win at Texas this weekend. I know he won at Kansas. I don't think that the Chevrolets have been strong enough on the 1.5 miles, especially one like Texas, which is very high downforce. You don't get because it's free repaved, you don't get so much of the tyre wear and the moving up the track that you get at Kansas. So I'm not convinced that it's going to be a great track for the Hendrick cars. But Phoenix really could be good for Elliott. He's always run well there. I think he was 3rd in the swing, I want to say. Could have won last year, obviously. The whole incident with Hamlin, but he was clear on the last stint, but didn't have the long run speed to hold off Kenseth. But really, other than Harvick would probably be the favourite to win at Phoenix. He is a specialist at that track. He always seems to be in contention. He's won there so many times. But I would make Elliott the next favourite after Harvick. I really do. And if Harvick wins at Texas, perhaps that makes things easier for Elliott because, will the 14 be focused on Homestead that little bit more? Perhaps. So I still think between Truex and Elliott it's 50-50. I think Harvick would advance. I think Busch will advance. Logano is in. And that would be a fantastic championship 4. There was some recent news this week as well about Jimmy Johnson, Ally Financial, stepping up to be the primary sponsor for 2019 and 2020 for all of the races, which is a bit surprising, really. You don't often see that in NASCAR anymore, where a team comes in and takes all the races. All the races are sponsored by the same company. They'll probably have 1 or 2 paint schemes over the year. They'll probably run 1 or 2 special schemes at Darlington and Charlotte maybe and other places. But yeah, I was real surprised to see that, and perhaps it's a testimony to Rick Hendrick that in this era of NASCAR where sponsorship seems to be even harder to find than ever before with the ratings declining and whatnot, he's still finding ways to get long-term sponsorship deals for his cars. You look at Chase Elliott with Napa, that's a very strong partnership. Nationwide still with Bowman, and Bowman's got a few other sponsors like Valvoline as well, and then obviously William Byram, backed by the Liberty University, Exalta. So all 4 of the Hendrick cars still are pretty comfortable sponsorship-wise, which you certainly can't say, for instance, about the Stewart-Haas racing cars, who have been so strong this year. They've not had so much sponsorship. Clint Bowyer and Kurt Busch in particular have struggled to get sponsorship for all the races. So you have to say fair play, and it also probably means that I reckon Johnson's probably got at least 2 more years of full-time running. I think he'll run 2019, he'll run 2020. And it's really up to him after that. I don't think they're in a position, Hendrick, where they'll say to Jimmy, look, you need to retire now. It'll be a case of, will you retire when you want to retire? And all the notions we've heard from Jimmy are that he doesn't want to retire early. He wants to race for as long as he possibly can, Mark Martin style. Keep going. Maybe he'll go part-time if they can perhaps find a way to do that. But yeah, really good news for any Jimmy Johnson fans. His future's very much secured now. And I still think he'll come back strong in 2019. It's been a difficult year for him this season, but I think in recent races they've looked the second best Hendrick car, maybe close to Bowman, but they've certainly taken a step forward. They look better again, and new crew chief for them next season as well. I'm really curious to see how the 48 does in 2019. So that brings us to the end of this NASCAR Ramble. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you all next time.